Hello everyone, thanks for joining us for another edition of Texas Insider TV. I'm Jim Cardle. One of the hardest fought and certainly most talked about races in Texas today, Senate District 20 down in Corpus Christi to the Valley and border region of Mexico. We're pleased to be able to visit with Republican candidate Raul Torres. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me again, Jim.
As I mentioned, Raul, you're in the middle of one of the toughest races. But first, before we get into some of the political nature, I want to talk about the policy that you've done in the legislation. These days, people are wanting to see someone who's got a good heart, who is visible and they can touch, but somebody who's got the know-how and the accomplishments to have done some cost-saving efficiency measures, which you have done. Specifically, last time you were in, we talked about this Lean Six Sigma concept, and I know it's saving the state money. There's just been a report by the Texas Workforce Commission, but if you would, give us a thumbnail sketch of what you've done with this project.
Well, thank you, Jim. I like to consider it a bold idea since a lot of legislators like to keep the status quo, but Lean Six Sigma is not new to America. It's been around for a very long time. It's a proven system that we decided we needed to try in government since we had a very tight budget session last time, a very difficult one with a $27 billion shortfall. Mm-hmm. I was elected on the premise that I could provide an answer to the problem of the waste that we find in government. So me and my team worked very hard to come up with some ideas, and this one was the top of the list that we call Lean Six Sigma. It's a phrase most people don't understand, but it's a very simple process.
Okay.
There's two components to it, one called Lean, the other component called Six Sigma. Lean works at eliminating the waste in the process. Six Sigma focuses on maintaining a consistent quality or an improvement in the quality of the product or the service that is being applied.
Now, recently in the last month, there's even been, and this is typical for our listeners, legislation will be passed, it's implemented, put into statute by the state agencies, and then there are often reports that are done by the Legislative Budget Board or the Texas Workforce Commission. There's been a Texas Workforce Commission report that's come out quantifying and showing positive results, correct?
That's correct. Not only positive, but amazing results, Jim.
Really? Consider
this for a moment. This pilot program, which is what we passed through Senate Bill 563, proved that when we applied this methodology to state government, an agency department, we were able to see a 50% or greater reduction in costs, plus, at the same time, double the output capacity of that agency.
So some of the numbers I know I've looked at, and again, folks, this is called the Lean Six Sigma program. You can go to the Texas Workforce Commission website and find the report, but you're talking a volume doubling from some 20,000 caseload, I believe, to
45,000 caseload
at almost a third.
And reducing the cost from $3 and I believe 73 cents to down to $1.71 per case.
So how does this happen? It seems like it's almost too good to be true, but yet it's just been quantified. There's got to be results that are in the report, but additional cost savings out there.
Well, absolutely. This was just strictly a pilot program. It did not look into the additional cost savings or benefits from the program. For example, this particular program did not include, or the results did not include, the cost savings to the employer who does business with the Texas Workforce Commission. One of the benefits would be that the employer would save from administrative costs. Most employers have been having to wait on TWC to do their work before they could apply for the credit, which means that most of them had already filed their tax returns and had to hire a CPA or their tax preparer to prepare an amended return in order to apply these tax credits so they could get their fair share of the refund. Well, with this new process, they may not have to wait at all, and so therefore they're going to save that cost from the administrative side.
So what are we talking about here?
Well,
people think about government paperwork and they're thinking 4 to 6 plus months. Is it somewhere in the neighborhood of now 2 months, or what's the time?
Yeah, that's correct. It cut it by more than 50% wait time.
So if you're a businessman out there and you're looking at government regulations and knowing you've got to go through the workforce process, substantially less paperwork and time?
I believe not only less time, may not be less paperwork from the employer side.
Okay.
Okay, but definitely a faster process to generate the result that employer is waiting for, a response for his request.
Okay, so again, folks, we're visiting with Representative Raul Torres from House District 33, running for Senate District 20. You're a CPA, I should have mentioned, and also a conservative talk show host down in the Valley. Talk, if we can, just a little bit about the race and how it's going. Are there any particular issues that you see coming to the forefront? And in specific, I want to get to the importance of jobs down there.
Well, based on talking to the folks on the ground, the business owners, the families, the colonia areas, the social workers, the three top issues that are facing that community in South Texas is jobs, number one, education, number two, and healthcare. Especially deep South Texas is heavily relied upon government subsidized healthcare, and so that's very important for them.
So if you are looking at winning over the undecided voters down there, a lot of the national mood these days has been more focused on fearing for the future of our country. I suspect what your voters or the constituency down there is just trying to keep their head above water. Is that correct?
That's right. They're living paycheck by paycheck. And right now, with the 12% unemployment, a lot of those families are just struggling to make ends meet with their unemployment checks. And that's just largely due because that particular part of the state only has two major industries. 90% of the people work in one of two industries, either government, which includes education, or healthcare. And if any of those two industries have a bubble in it or something burst, there's a lot of people that are hurting.
How about the unemployment situation? Is that reflective of the rest of the state at 8%? I would suspect it's a little bit more.
Well, it's a lot more. It's 12% right now in Hidalgo County. The valley as a whole is 11.7%, and it's been there for a very long time. Back in 03, 04, the unemployment rate was a little bit below 10%, and it's only gotten worse over the years.
So you're out campaigning across the district. It's a crescent moon shape, so to speak, from Corpus Christi down south to the
Rio Grande?
Yep, Rio Grande Valley. Are folks down there talking about the loss of government jobs, or are they concerned about health care and Obamacare, or is it the jobs? What are we going to be able to do to gain further employment?
I think jobs is number one issue, and that includes the small business owners. Many small business owners are closing up because of the loss of capacity or earning capacity from some of the employees. Now, the good news is that because the Hidalgo County is right against the Mexican border, a lot of that money from across the border is coming into Texas, and that's helping sustain that area considerably. And that's the good news. We can take whatever good news we can and be thankful for that. But the bad news is that on our side of the border, it's not getting that much better. 12% unemployment, with additional budget cuts perhaps looming on the horizon, that's only going to make things worse. So I believe that we need a bold new plan to how to restructure South Texas to make it a viable part of our state. And
one final question, it wouldn't be fair to talk about this part of the state without addressing the issue of border safety. Are folks concerned? Is that an issue that you're hearing about or debating down there?
Yes. In my opinion, border safety is a big issue, regardless of what the federal government may be saying right now. There are people on the ground that see every day some kind of violent crime, a kidnapping, a murder, some kind of attack upon personal property or personal lives. That's just for them become to be now a commonplace day-to-day affair. And I'm afraid that many of them are becoming to be insensitive to that anymore because they see so much of it. But we have to put an end to that, and we have to seal that border. Something that those of us here in Austin or the other major metroplexes take for granted. That's correct. No doubt. Well, folks, thanks for joining us, Representative Raul Torres. Thank you for having me, Jim. I want to have you be sure and tune back in a couple days for the second part of our two-part series with Representative Torres. In the meantime, Representative, go to electraultorres.com. And as always, be sure and tune back in to Texas Insider TV. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jim Cardle.